Iran is considered as one of the most dangerous countries in the world to visit, and the country's name rarely appears in the news without something alarming attached to it. So it's understandable that most people in the West have a very specific image of what Iran looks like and what kind of welcome a tourist might expect there. That image might turn out to be almost completely wrong. Right now, Iran is at war. The country is in the middle of one of the most volatile periods in its modern history. Missile strike, regional escalation, a conflict that has pulled in multiple countries and shown no sign of stopping. But I want to show you footage of Iran that was shot before all of this started. And what it shows is something that most people outside Iran has never really seen. A country that, beneath everything, is surprisingly normal. Cities full of families and traffic and street food, ancient ruins that have been standing, villages where strangers wave you into their homes before you say a word. This is Iran before the war. And I'm going to warn beforehand that some of these places I might not be able to pronounce them correctly, so just bear with me. The first stop is Shiraz, a large city in the south of Iran, known for being one of the most relaxed and open cities in the country. One of the first places to visit in Shiraz is the Azma Amin Mosque, commonly called the Purple Mosque, and it has genuinely earned the name. Most mosques in Iran are covered in deep blue tile work. This went in a completely different direction. The tile here are purple and rose colored, and a lot of them dating back from the 80s. The building, the landscape, the architectural details were borrowed from another side of the world. The tinted glass windows are the main event. When the morning light comes through, it's spread across the floor in this wide pool of color. The whole interior lights up, and it is genuinely one of the most impressive things to see in the entire country. And it's right there in the middle of Shiraz. From Shiraz, the next major stop is Persepolis. If there is one place in Iran that every visitor should make time for, this is probably it. Built around 518 BC as a ceremonial capital for the Persian Empire under the Great King, kings will bring delegates here from across the empire to celebrate the Persian New Year. At its peak, it was the center of one of the largest empires in the ancient world. The scale of the ruin is hard to prepare for. There are columns still standing 30 meters tall. The stone carving along the staircase shows delegates arriving from dozens of different nations, each depicted with their own distinct clothing, hairstyles, and shoes. The details is remarkable for something carved 2,500 years ago. One thing worth knowing about Persepolis that often surprises people is that the workers who built it were paid. Archaeologists found clay tablets during evacuation that documents wages, food ration, and even sick pay. For a structure of this age and scale, that's unusual. It is a detail that gives something about how the Persian Empire operates. The site gets very few foreign tourists. On a regular day, it's mostly Iranian families visiting, and the pride they feel here is obvious. This isn't just an historical ruin to them, it is an evidence of something, a reminder of where Persian civilization stands in a long timeline of human history. The road north from Shiraz towards Isfahan cuts through mountains range and wide open valley. It's beautiful driving, and along the way you start noticing a small cluster of tents on the east side. This belongs to the Kakyas, one of Iranian nomadic people. There are around 1 million of them, and they have been living this way for centuries. Twice a year they move, following the season between the lowland in winter and the mountain pasture in spring. They travel with their sheep and goats, set up their camp, and live almost entirely off what their animals produce and what the land provides. Stopping to visit one of these tents is one of the most memorable experiences in Iran. The hospitality is immediate. Before anything else, tea appears, hot, sweet, poured into small glasses. Then food starts to be prepared. A full meal materializes out of what looked like a simple campsite. The family here are welcoming in ways that doesn't feel performed. They are curious about visitors, they ask questions, they want to know what people outside Iran think of their country, and they are clearly aware of the gap between the perception and the reality of their daily life. What makes this part of the trip genuinely sublime is learning that this lifestyle probably won't survive another generation. The young members of these families are increasingly moving to cities, drawn by job, education, and better infrastructure. The great seasonal migration that used to take weeks on foot now happens at the back of a truck. In 20 years, this way of life might effectively be over. Isfahan is about 40 hours north of Shiraz by road, and it announces itself as a different kind of city. more polished, more historic, with a dense of architecture that hardly match anything in the world. The main square is the second largest city square on the planet after Tiananmen in Beijing. It is enormous and it's surrounded on all four sides by 17th century buildings that are genuinely still in excellent shape. The Shark Mosque is the centerpiece. The tile work inside covers every surface, intricately geometric patterns in blues and gold that require extraordinary precision to execute. The center dome is built so that standing directly under it creates a visual trick. It appears to spin upward endlessly. The architects who designed this 400 years ago knows exactly what they are doing. The square itself functions as a public park in the evening. Family comes out, spread picnic blankets on the grass, and lets their kids run around near the river channels. It has an atmosphere of neighborhood gathering, not a tourist attraction. The local clearly use it and enjoy it, which makes the whole place feel more alive than a typical historical site. Isfahan has a reputation within Iran as one of the most open and educated cities in the country. Young people here are talkative and friendly. The conversation that happens on the streets are direct and honest. People share their views on the economic, on life in Iran, on what they wish was different. There is no shortage of opinion. Kurdistan is a region that spans across 4 countries: Iran, Iraq, Turkey, and Syria, with a combined Kurdish population larger than Canada's. It is one of the oldest cultures in the Middle East, with its own language, its own music, its own distinct culture, and yet it doesn't have its own country. The reality shapes a lot of conversation in this part of Iran. The city of Kamesha is the main urban center of Iranian Kurdistan. Just outside it is the Bostud inscription, a UNESCO site carved into a card face around 1518 BC, recording the military campaign of Gasluin the Great in 3 languages. It's enormous and remarkably well preserved. There is also a separate carving of Achilles nearby, added centuries back. Both are just sitting there on the side of a mountain next to the road. The Kurdish village of Palangan is a few hours from Kamadish and is generally unlikely anywhere else in the country. The village is built into a stilled hillside and each house is standing directly above one below it. So the roof of one house is the courtyard of the house above. It goes up the mountain in layers. The buildings are made from the same stone and mud brick as the hillside, which means from a distance, the whole house basically appears like a landscape. People have been living here for centuries. Some families are certain their ancestors have occupied the same house for 500 years, walking through it. The currency situation in Iran is worth understanding before visiting. The inflation has been so severe that the numbers involved in base transactions are genuinely staggering. The people here talk about it openly and with a fair amount of dark humor. The economic pressure is real and constant, but it hasn't made people all friendly or closer. If anything, it seems to have produced a kind of resilience, a determination to enjoy what is in front of them, rather than what's happening in the micro level. The Kurdish population here has family on both sides of the border, cousins, aunts, grandparents, separated not by distance or culture, but by paperwork and politics. Both sides speak the same languages, wear similar traditional clothing, share the same music. The border is essentially invisible in cultural terms, even if it requires visa in practical one. Iran as a country is enormous and genuinely diverse. The south feels different from the center, and both feels completely different from the Kazakhstan. Different language, different food, different architecture, different atmosphere. The people are almost universally welcoming to foreign visitors. This isn't something that needs qualifying. It's consistent across every part of the country. Strangers invite you in, pay for your drink, pay for your tea, offer you food, want to practice their English, want to know where you think of their country. The economic situation is generally hard for most people. The inflation is severe. International sanctions has cut Iran off from global banking, and there is real uncertainty about the future. Young, educated people talk about immigration the way people in many countries talk about job prospects as a serious option being actively considered. But the frustration with economic and political situation doesn't translate into hostility towards outsiders. If anything, it produces the opposite, a clear distance between governments and people. The view expressed repeatedly by students, shopkeepers, nomad family, cooking over a fire in the mountain is some version of the same thing. The problem is between the government. Between people, there is no problem at all. Iran has 26 UNESCO World Heritage sites, more than any countries in the Middle East. It has one of the oldest continuously civilizations on Earth, a landscape that ranges from Persian Gulf coastline to snow-carved mountain to some of the most dramatic deserts in the entire region. And it has a population that, on the ground, is nothing like the country's international reputation suggests. The gap between what people expect and what's actually there is one of the widest of any country in the world. And that gap is worth knowing about.